The Godhood Delusion, Psychological Breakdown of Light Yagami and the Ethics of Justice. இமேஜின் பண்ணி பாருங்க, நாளைக்கு காலையில் நீங்க எந்திரிச்சு பார்க்கும்போது உங்க டேபிள் மேல ஒரு நோட் புக் இருக்கு அண்ட் அதுல நீங்க ஒரு நேம் எழுதுனீங்கன்னா அந்த பர்சன் செத்துருவாங்க. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கொஸ்டின், நீங்க அதை யூஸ் பண்ணுவீங்களா? மோஸ்ட் பீப்புள் இமீடியட்லி நோன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஆனா ரியல் கொஸ்டின் அது இல்ல. ரியல் கொஸ்டின், எத்தனை தடவை நீங்க யூஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க பிஃபோர் இட் ஸ்டாப்ஸ் ஃபீலிங் ராங்? பிகாஸ் தட்ஸ் எக்ஸாக்ட்லி வாட் ஹேப்பன் டு லைட் Yagami. He didn't become a monster overnight. He became a monster one justified decision at a time. So வணக்கம் guys, welcome back to TFZ the final cut தமிழ். டெத் நோட் பத்தி பேசும்போது most of the people லைட் Yagami ஜீனியஸ்னு பாக்குறாங்க. some people வில்லன்னு பாக்குறாங்க, சில பேர் ஹீரோன்னு கூட பாக்குறாங்க. ஆனா சைக்காலஜி பெர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா Light Yagami isn't the hero, he isn't the villain either, he is an experiment that asks one terrifying question: what happens when an ordinary human suddenly receives an absolute power? Does power corrupt, or does it simply reveal who we truly are? Because throughout Death Note, Light repeatedly says he is creating a better world, but somewhere along the journey, justice quietly disappears and ego takes its place. So இன்னைக்கு நம்ம பார்க்க போறது how the brightest students in Japan slowly convinced himself that becoming a god was the only logical conclusion. The perfect son. Light Yagamiயோட ஸ்டோரி Death Note கிடைச்ச நாள்ல இருந்து ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகல, அதுக்கு ரொம்ப முன்னாடியே ஸ்டார்ட் ஆயிருக்கு. டாப் ஸ்டூடெண்ட், பர்ஃபெக்ட் கிரேட்ஸ், பர்ஃபெக்ட் டிசிப்ளின், பர்ஃபெக்ட் ரெபுடேஷன். சொசைட்டி அவனை ஒரு சக்சஸோட டெஃபினேஷனா தான் பார்த்துச்சு. ஆனா சைக்காலஜிக்கலா ஒரு இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் அப்சர்வேஷனும் இருக்கு. Sometimes people who look the most complete outside feel the most empty inside. Think about Light's daily life. Every exam easy, every challenge predictable, every achievement expected. Slowly life itself became boring, not because life is meaningless, but because nothing feels worthy of his intelligence anymore. In the boredom na important kuda, because radical ideas usually enter when ordinary life no longer feels enough. So Death Note wasn't just a supernatural book, it was the first thing that made Light feel truly challenged. And that's why before Kira was born, there was already a young man silently believing that the world needed someone smarter than everyone else. The first murder wasn't about justice. Most people என்ன think பண்றாங்கன்னா Light becomes Kira when he killed the criminal on television. But actually Kira was born a few seconds later. When Light justified it, notice what happens inside his mind. Instead of asking did I just kill someone, he asks what if this can create a better world. That single shift changes everything, because guilt disappears the moment we convince ourselves our actions serve a higher purpose. Psychologically, the moral disengagement is சொல்லுவாங்க. The human mind slowly disconnects from the emotional weight of its own actions. The action stays the same, the feeling changes, and one guilt disappears. Doing it again becomes easier. The second name is easier than the first, the 10th easier than the second. Eventually murder becomes routine, not because Light enjoys killing, but because his mind has successfully rewritten what killing means. When justice slowly becomes ego. Initially Light's dream sounds almost noble, இல்லையா? A world without criminals, a peaceful society, a safer future. Even audience கூட ஒரு brief moment எடுத்து அவனோட லாஜிக்கை புரிஞ்சுக்குவாங்க. But then something quietly changes. Criminals aren't the only ones dying anymore, இல்லையா? FBI agents, investigator, police officer, anyone who stands in Kira's way, எல்லாருமே சாகுறாங்க. நீங்களே கேட்டு பாருங்க, எப்பங்க justice self defense ஆ மாறுச்சு? Because the moment Light decides that protecting Kira is more important than protecting innocent lives, justice is already dead and ego takes its place. Notice the language too. Early Light says I will change the world. Later Light says I am justice. And then finally he says I will become the god of the new world. Those aren't just different sentences, bro. They are different identities. The mission no longer matters, only the man at the center of the mission does. The addiction nobody talks about. Many fans describe பண்றது என்னன்னா Death Note as a weapon, but psychologically it's much closer to an addiction. Every successful manipulation, every victory over the police, every escape from the suspicion reinforces Light's belief that he is exceptional. And the notebook doesn't only kill people, it rewards behavior, and the human brain loves rewards, இல்லையா? Especially rewards that confirm our superiority. So slowly Light stops needing the notebook to create justice. He starts needing it to preserve the identity of Kira, and that's a dangerous difference கூட, because addiction rarely survive on pleasure alone. Eventually they survive on identity. So without Death Note, Lightங்கிறது யாரு? இந்த பாயிண்ட்ல லைட்டுக்கே அதுக்கான பதில் தெரியல. L was never the enemy. Most of the people Death Note L versus Light பாக்குறாங்க, like good versus evil, but psychologically L is something much more dangerous. He is a mirror. Before L appeared, Light never had to question his own intelligence. He always won, he was always right. Then suddenly someone appears who refuses to accept Kira as a god, someone who is an intimidator, someone who keeps saying you are just another human. And Light ala அதை tolerate பண்ணவே முடியல, because L threatens something deeper than his plans. He threatens his identity. Every move against L isn't just about survival, it's about proving that Light deserves to stand above everyone else. The rivalry becomes less about justice and more about validation. The death of Light Yagami. By the final episode, something heartbreaking happens. Light stops pretending. The polite student disappears. The caring son disappears. The brilliant classmate disappears. Only Kira remains. And when the notebook's production finally collapses, so does the illusion also. நீங்க அவனோட final moments பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, he doesn't die like a god. He panics, he begs, he runs, he screams. For the first time in years, the audience sees the original Light Yagami again. Not confident, not divine, just a terrified human being desperately trying to survive. And that's the cruel irony கூட. The man who wanted absolute control cannot even control his own ending. The greatest lie Kira ever believed. Light அடிக்கடி சொல்றது என்னன்னா, I am creating a better world. But நீங்களே உங்களை கேட்டு பாருங்க, what kind of world did he actually create? A world built on fear, silence, suspicion. People obeyed, not because they become better, but because they become afraid. Fear can change behavior, but it can't change morality. And that's where Kira ultimately fails. Because when justice built on fear, it isn't justice, it's control. So, video final, maybe that's why Death Note remains timeless. Not because of the notebook, not because of the mind games, not because of the Ryuk, but because it forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth every human being believes. Every human being believes they would use absolute power responsibly until they actually possess it. Light Yagami didn't wake up one morning wanting to become a tyrant. He woke up believing only he was intelligent enough to save the world. And somewhere between saving humanity and ruling humanity, he stopped noticing that he had become the very evil he once wanted to destroy. Maybe the Death Note never transformed Light into something else. Maybe it simply removed every limit that he had, stopping the real light from emerging. So, எல்லாத்துக்கு அப்புறம் the murders, the manipulation, the lies, the depths. ஒரு question மட்டும் still remain பண்ணுது. Did the Death Note create Kira, or was Kira always hiding inside Light Yagami, waiting for the right opportunity? Because maybe the scariest part of the Death Note is in the notebook. It's the idea that under the right circumstances, any human being might slowly convince themselves that they are doing the right thing. So, உங்க opinion என்ன? Did power corrupt Light? இல்ல power simply exposed who he really was? And if the Death Note landed in your hands, உங்களோட ஸ்டோரி இதே மாதிரி இருக்குமா இல்ல டிஃபரெண்டா இருக்குமா?
Cross my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.